Hello, my friends, it's Danny, and I'm excited to be here with you guys outside of the kitchen again this week, talking about self-love and how that plays into our weight loss goals and into life in general. This is piggybacking off a video I did last week, 6 natural weight loss tips for healthy, sustainable weight loss. And for those of you who watched that video, you know that so much of that video was really based on the mental and the emotional aspects of weight loss. So if that is something that you want to see that you did not get to see, I'm going to link to it down in the description box below. But how I opened that video is similar to how I want to open this video, and that is that weight loss is responsible and capable of doing one thing for you and your body, and that is to make your body weigh less. So many of you want to lose weight because you want to stop hating yourself and stop hating your body, and you think that somehow losing weight is going to be the magical pill that all of a sudden helps you create a kind, loving relationship with your body. But honestly, it does not work that way. If you hate your way to the finish line, what happens is even when you get to the finish line, if you get to the finish line, you still have that relationship with yourself and your body. So the key is to practice creating and cultivating a very kind, loving, compassionate relationship with yourself, learning how to become better at unconditionally loving yourself and your body, and then allowing that to be the gateway to weight loss. Because very often learning how to cultivate that relationship, weight loss becomes the byproduct of that. So this week I wanted to chat about 10 ways we can actually practice loving ourselves more, because we all hear this all of the time in the health and weight loss industries. You gotta love yourself, you gotta love yourself, right? But what exactly does that mean? How do we actually apply that? So that's what I want to chat about today, and I'm going to share 10 ideas. So tip number 1 is to think of love as a verb, right? Love is an action. It's a practice. It's not a once and done. It's not a destination. It's something that we continuously practice for ourselves. It's how we show up for and care for ourselves and nurture ourselves on a day-to-day basis. And you don't have to like exactly where you are right now or like the way your body looks right now to show up and love yourself and love your body. I often use the example of having children. I have 2 kids, 9 and 11, and they could be running around the house acting like 2 wild animals in a way that I don't particularly enjoy. But I do not choose to withhold my love from them just because I'm not enjoying the way they are at any specific moment, right? I choose to love them unconditionally. I still show up for them. I still nurture them. I take care of them. I protect them, right? It's a day-to-day practice, and that's what we get to learn to offer ourselves as well. How to be there for ourselves no matter what, ongoingly and unconditionally. Tip number 2 is find a path that you can enjoy. There are so many different ways to lose weight, and different things work for different people. What you don't want to do is bully yourself into the keto diet or the Whole30 diet and really not want to do it and not enjoy that particular approach, and then blame yourself when you can't stick to it. If you try a diet and you're not enjoying it, or you feel like you're not able to stick to it, don't make yourself wrong. Ask yourself, what would work better for you? How could you enjoy this more? Because if you are going to find a path that you can live for the rest of your life, you have to find a path that is enjoyable and sustainable. Tip number 3, stop restricting and depriving. It does not work, and it's not nice. Trying to white knuckle your way to the finish line is not loving. It's like you're trying to do something without you, right? You're not enjoying it, it's not working for you, and you're still trying to push yourself down the path. It makes a lot more sense to try to find ways to incorporate the foods that you enjoy and the foods that you want to be eating in a way that also supports your weight loss goals. It truly is possible to do. You do not need to eat all healthy power foods in order to lose weight. What we do need to do is find a way to be in a calorie deficit in an enjoyable, sustainable way. But there are so many different ways to do that, so don't just go looking at some specific dietary approach and then try to force yourself and bully yourself to do it when it doesn't feel good for you. Honor yourself and find a way, again, that's going to work for you that does not feel like deprivation and restriction all of the time. Tip number 4 is to track and celebrate your wins. At the end of the day, take 5 or 10 minutes and write down things that went well that day. Take the time to think about what you're grateful for that day and what actually worked for you. So many of us are in the habit of, we could have a day that went 90% well, and yet at the end of the day, our brain is going to go right to that 10% that didn't go as planned, or that wasn't aligned with our goals, or it's not what we wanted. And then we put all of our attention and our energy on the things that are not working. And what happens is when you're always putting your attention on what doesn't seem to be working, you breathe more energy into what feels like the problem, and you're not noticing all of the successes, right? Because remember, success, it's really so many little steps that add up. And so when you take the time to look at them and to honor them and to feel them and celebrate them, it can make all the difference in the world. So you really want to train your brain to look for the good, look for the wins, because that, my friends, is how you start to shift the momentum. Number 5 is take your time. Weight loss takes time. It just does. That's just the way it works. We want to stop trying to hurry our way to the finish line and start learning to embrace who we get to become on this journey, right? We have to make changes for ourselves. We have to shift who we are to shift the results that we're creating. You're going to learn to become a more loving and kind person to yourself. You're going to learn how to understand yourself better. You're going to understand how to be in relationship with yourself through the ups and the downs without turning your back on yourself. And the cool thing about that is not only does it make the journey more enjoyable, because we take the pressure and the timeline off of our shoulders and instead focus on the relationship that we're cultivating with ourselves. And the better you get at giving this and doing this for and with yourself, the better you get at extending that to other people in your life as well. So it is a win-win. Number 6, learn how to feel all of your feelings. If every time you have an uncomfortable emotion, you try to avoid it or sidestep it or buffer it by eating some food, then what happens is you begin to think that you have this overeating problem and that you really need to control your food more. But really what you have is a I don't know how to process my emotions problem, and it has actually nothing to do with the food. So many of us were never taught how to be with all of our different emotions, right? And the ones that feel bad, oftentimes we think that we're not supposed to be having them, or we need to get away from them as quick as possible. But we have to remember that emotions are like our guidance system, and they always come with great information for us, number 1. And number 2, all an emotion is a vibration in your body. And there is no emotion, no vibration that you were not designed to feel, experience, and handle. So when you shift your focus from I'm going to resist and try to control my food to I'm going to get really curious about how I'm feeling and staying with all of my feelings, you can see that you take the struggle with food out of it as you begin to improve your ability to be with and process all of the different emotions in your life. And I'll tell you this much, they all come with a message, so they are all there for you. Number 7, learn to embrace mistakes, slip-ups, and failures. Any of you who have ever dieted before, been on and off of diets, knows that oftentimes any type of slip up, we use it as a reason to tell ourselves that something has gone wrong, right? We use it as a reason to stop doing the thing that we're doing. We think the slip up means whatever we're doing is not going to work. And what I want you to get really clear on is that the slip up is never the problem. The problem is always the quitting. Right? It's not the slip up that makes us not reach our goals. It's the using the slip up as a reason to stop that stops us from reaching our goals, right? So if you looked at every slip up, mistake, failure, whatever you want to call it, and you used it as information to continue to move you forward, you would continue to move forward, right? It's never the slip up that's the problem. It's always the way we perceive and think about the slip up. So keep an open mind and remember, all experiences move us forward. Number 8, create a mantra. As many of you know by now, especially if you're watching my videos, creating a kind, loving, curious relationship with yourself begins in your mind. It really begins with the thoughts that you think and the things that you say to yourself about yourself. So you want to create mantras and ideas to help move you in the direction that you want to go in. And a really great way to do this is to sit down one time, take a pen, grab your journal, and write out any negative or self-depreciating, bullying, beat yourself up thoughts that go through your mind around food and body, and put them on a piece of paper. Okay? Take a look at them and then counter them with something that would be nicer and more effective towards moving you to your goals, right? So let's say something you tell yourself is, oh, this is never going to work for me. I've never been able to do it before. You can look at that sentence and think, okay, I'm committed to figuring this out for myself, and I know that there's a path that works for me. I'm open to believing there's a path that will work for me. You got to play with the sentence until it resonates with you, until it feels good for you. But once you find it, make it your mantra. And then when you find yourself butting up against old false thoughts that do not serve you and or move you towards your goal, practice swapping them out with something that is more real and more true and that helps support you into going where you want to be going. Number 9, practice discomfort. And when I say discomfort, I do not mean the kind of discomfort that comes with depriving and restricting and bullying yourself down towards the finish line, right? That's actually not uncomfortable for most of you because you do it so often that it's super familiar, even though it's not effective and it doesn't feel good. It's not that uncomfortable because you do it all the time, right? When I say discomfort, I'm talking about that quiet discomfort. I'm talking about that little whisper inside, that little nudge inside that wants you to try something different, that wants you to do it differently than you've done it before, right? For some of you, that may be allowing yourself to eat a cookie without experiencing guilt. For some of you, that may be trying a new exercise routine that puts you in a brand new space that you've never done before, where you feel super vulnerable and you're afraid to do it, but you want to do it and you're going to choose to do it anyway. It may look like making the choice to catch yourself when you're saying really mean things to yourself and pausing and saying, I'm not going to accept that from me anymore. We're not doing that anymore. You know, whenever you're doing something new, I don't care what anybody says. When you're creating a new habit, it's uncomfortable. Allow it to be uncomfortable. And again, remember, it's always that quiet discomfort that's usually the more kind and supportive type of discomfort that actually helps to move us forward. And the 10th tool that I want to offer to help you practice self-love, to actually put that into action, is to use the scale as an opportunity to practice self-love. Now, first, allow me to say, I do feel like this is an advanced practice, but here's the intention. So many of us think that the scale and or the number on the scale makes us feel really bad. It sends us into a really negative feel space, right? And then we say the scale is crazy, just don't use the scale, get rid of the scale. And I'm not saying to not get rid of the scale. Different things work for different people. But a really interesting practice is to use that scale as a way to deepen your relationship with yourself. And what I mean by that is when we step on a scale, usually the negative feeling does not come from the scale. It comes from what we tell ourselves about ourselves based on the number that we see on the scale, right? The number provides some data. It's a number. We look at that number and then we have opinions about whether it's a good number or a bad number. And if we think it's a bad number, we usually make that mean a lot of really bad negative things about ourselves. So I love this idea of deciding before you step on the scale what you're going to think to yourself and about yourself. What are you going to think for yourself? Make that decision before you see the number. This way, no matter what that number reflects, you still get to decide how you want to show up for yourself that day. That is such a powerful tool because you're making a decision ahead of time that no matter what happens, I'm still staying unconditional. I'm still having my own back. I'm still loving myself. through the entire process. I'm not using a number or a specific day to decide that, hey, I'm not doing a good job, I'm not good enough, I'm turning my back on myself, I'm going to ignore myself, I'm going to beat myself up. That's just not an option, right? We use that day-to-day weigh-in as an opportunity to say, I am going to continue to practice my relationship with myself. And so, again, I do think it's an advanced practice because I know so many of us have a lot of emotion tied into the scale, and so we have to do a little bit of emotional work around that first. But depending on where you are, just like all of these tips, I don't expect you to run off and try all 10 of them today. Notice which one talks to you, which one catches your attention, which one resonates with you, and then give that a little bit of time and attention, because that means that you are ready for that one. If it's talking to you, you're ready for it. So, my dear friends, I hope that these 10 tips help break down the practice of self-love a little bit more. I mean, there are so many other ways we can go about loving ourselves, but these were just the top 10 that came to mind that I wanted to share with you today. I am super interested to hear from you. If you have specific things that help you show up for yourself on a day-to-day basis, something you've been doing for a long time or something that's new to you, please come down to the comments below and share. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, let me know that as well. Thank you all for watching. I'm Dani Spies, and I'll see you back here next time with some more food for thought. Cheers. Hello, my friends. It's Dani, and this week we're still outside of the kitchen yet again, because last week nope, here we go. We are back outside of the kitchen. Whose phone is beeping? It's my computer. Last week we shared, right, nope, we're gonna take that from the top. You ready? I'm so excited to be here chatting with you again. I'm outside of the kitchen this week chatting about self-love.